Right, and we back. Gonna talk a little bit about the NFL. Obviously, if you're seeing this, Andy Dalton just signed for 2 years, $10 million. Now, again, that's not necessarily a big deal. That's not really a big deal at all. He's gonna be the backup quarterback to Bryce Young, theoretically. Got a great rapport in Carolina. Spent the last couple of years there. Played well. In his time out there, been a great mentor to Bryce Young, and I'm sure that he has helped with Bryce Young's development. But the reason I'm making this video and starting off with that is because I think there are seven, I would say, different things that are about to happen in terms of just the quarterback market. Now, not necessarily all of these are things that we haven't heard or seen before, but just I want to give a little recap to that. But yeah, I just want to talk about kind of what's next with the quarterback dominoes. The first one I want to talk about is Matt Stafford. I think Matt Stafford and the Rams are going to reach an agreement on the quarterback's future. Now, does that necessarily mean that he's going to be a Ram? No. But according to Schefter, there's been reports that McVay, Rams, and Stafford's leadership are hoping to work out an extension that will allow him to retire in LA because he wants to stay there. But again, they're at a bit of contract crossroads. He surrendered most of his 2025 guarantees when he restructured his contract last offseason. He's set to make $23 million. There's not a scenario where he agrees to play under his current terms. There just isn't. So he's due a $4 million roster bonus on March 14th. So that's what I would say 3 weeks from today. I'm recording this on the 20th. And that could change very quickly. So if a new deal comes, it'll be before then. If not, there's a chance he becomes available via trade, after that date or before that date. Now, again, there's a lot of teams that could look to make a trade for him, right? Vegas, Pittsburgh, Tennessee, Giants all have $45 million projected at cap. There's a lot of teams that are looking for a quarterback. Now, I think they'll probably have to get a first, or they'll look for a first for Stafford, at least one. But yeah, I'm not sure how this is going to go, whether or not he resigns or not, but I know they're going to come to an agreement within the next couple of weeks. After that, obviously, the Jets, they're not going to, Aaron Rodgers is not coming back. We already know that. I don't know, he's going to decide if he really wants to play or not. It'll be very interesting. Obviously, very interesting to see what the Jets do because they don't have a quarterback plan on roster, especially now with Zach Wilson gone or Rodgers gone. Do you go out there with Tyrod Taylor? Do you sign a bridge quarterback? Do you sign Sam Darnold to a 2-year deal? Do you try to go get I don't even know who else, Justin Fields maybe for 2 years? And then on the Rodgers side, you don't necessarily know what his plan is. I don't think he knows what he wants to do, and I think it'll be very interesting to see what his plan is, where he wants to play, if he wants to play. Does he follow the Brett Favre career arc and end his career in Minnesota? New York, again, he's post June 1st designation. It would save them like $10 million, $9.5 million in cap. I would imagine if they could try to trade him, they would, but they're probably not going to just because I don't know how many teams are going to be clamoring to trade him when they know they can just sign him in June because they're going to have to release him. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with Aaron Rodgers. If he decides to play or if he decides to hang it up, obviously Aaron Rodgers is an incredible talent and, had an incredible career. Like I believe a 4-time MVP, a Super Bowl champ. I mean, one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. And trust me, as a Bears fan, it pains me to say that, but that son of a bitch owned us for a long time. Next up, back with the aging quarterbacks. I think the Falcons are obviously they're going to agree to trade him and they're going to put him on the market, but I don't think a team's going to trade for him, and I think they're eventually going to release him. I mean, he's making $40 million. I don't know who would trade for him. He's got 3 years left on that deal. It's at 130, 140, which is fucking insane, right? But especially because Penix came in, I would say the last 3 weeks and played pretty well. Got better every week. It'll be interesting because obviously the Falcons do want to trade him. They don't want to just, I think he's looking at it here, a $40 million backup. It wouldn't save them any cap space to release him post June 1st, but it wouldn't cost the Falcons any money, and so maybe you just tank it and you just eat the $40 million. I mean, we just saw the Denver Broncos eat Russell Wilson like $73 million cap hit and make the playoffs. So who knows what the hell they're gonna do, right? But he's an aging quarterback with coming off a torn Achilles, and he's clearly not the same quarterback he was before. But Cousins' contract also includes a no trade clause, and he hasn't, according to Rappaport and Tom Pelissero, he hasn't been in contact with the Falcons since the end of the season. He would need to sign off on any trade. Obviously, that's what a no trade clause does, and I don't think that's very likely. He was probably just going to continue to screw them over and take their money. And no offense, I'd probably do the same thing. But he's got a $10 million roster bonus on March 16th, and I would be willing to bet that they're not going to find a team, and that's the date he'll get cut by. I mean, the Jets, the Browns, the Steelers, they could all get him. Nobody's going to trade for him, and that's who you want. You just wait till the middle of June and go get him. This is going to be an interesting one because the Vikings, they went 14-2 in his 16 games. He didn't play in the final game of the season, or I don't necessarily know if he did anymore. I forgot what he did. But the Vikings were, a top team in the NFC. And at the end of the day, they looked great. And Sam Darnold had a career year, but they lost in the wild card. His Pro Bowl campaign was impressive. He's only 28, or he'll be 28 in June. Is he a long-term quarterback guy? Has he turned a corner? Maybe the Giants, the Raiders, and the Titans. He's going to be a free agent, so he's going to have suitors, right? And it'll be interesting to see if the Vikings decide to retain him, right? Obviously, you draft J.J. McCarthy, and he gets hurt. He would have been the starter had he not gotten hurt, but Sam Darnold comes out and has this incredible year, like something that I don't think anybody expected. I don't even think Sam Darnold expected it, but he was obviously awesome. It'll be interesting, and I think maybe the Vikings, you lucked into a good situation where maybe JJ's the guy, but you fucking might as well just keep Sam Darnold around. And if he develops and he is your guy, okay, well then trade JJ McCarthy, and maybe you that first round pick, but you found your quarterback of the future, and that's what matters. It'll be interesting to see what Sam Darnold wants to do. He's going to be a free agent, so he's, I don't necessarily know if he's going to take the highest bidder, but there are going to be teams that go after him, give him a 2-3 year deal, similar to what Geno Smith. I think that's what I would do. Is if I'm a team, I'm giving him that same Geno Smith deal, where I think it was 3 years, $100 million he signed a couple of years ago after his first season in Seattle. And I just think you do that, and if he's not your guy, okay, well then you're only on the hook from 1 or 2 more years after. You just figure that out, and then if anything, you just eat it for another year. Draft a quarterback then, or JJ's your guy, and it'll be interesting. I don't know if the Vikings are going to try to outbid other teams because they have JJ McCarthy waiting in the wings, but JJ McCarthy, there's been rumors that he lost. Obviously, not rumors, he lost his entire rookie year, but he still has significant work to do to rebuild his body, let alone adjust to the NFL, because there's only so much you can do in simulation and non-game reps and non-practice reps, and that's what JJ McCarthy's had all season. I mean, they have until March 4th at 4 Eastern, I think is what it is, or noon Pacific, or 3 Eastern, to use the tag. So they might tag him. I mean, there's a real world where they tag him. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with Sam Darnold. I would, if I'm the Vikings, I'd probably bring him back on a 2 to 3 year deal and just pay the man now while JJ McCarthy's on a contract. And if Darnold's not your guy, okay, well then you only got to eat it for a year or two. Next up, the Steelers. And the Steelers not only have one decision, but they have 2 decisions. Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, or maybe even neither of them, right? I mean, they leaned on both those quarterbacks for different stretches of the game. Justin Fields did the first 6 games, and then Russell Wilson replaced him, and kind of faded on the stretch, even though they did make the playoffs. They still haven't won a postseason game in Pittsburgh since 2016. That was back when Big Ben was in the league. Le'Veon Bell was the number 1 running back, and Antonio Brown didn't have CTE. I mean, that's insane. We're almost at a decade. I can't imagine they bring both of them back. There were budget-friendly options, obviously, with Russell Wilson getting paid out from Denver, and Justin Fields on the last year of his deal, I believe the last year of his rookie deal. But they're about to they're not going to be bargains, right? Pittsburgh's going to have to probably choose, and you give them whoever you pick, a 2-year, $20 million deal, I think. Maybe guarantee that first year, and that's it. But it doesn't seem like they have an idea of who they want to go with. Obviously, I've mentioned Pittsburgh as a team. Maybe they go get a Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers, Louisa, Sam Darnold. Oh my God, he's burnt. But it's interesting. I'm not sure what's going on in that Pittsburgh locker room. I'm not sure they know what they want to do. They could decide they want to go in all on one of them. Maybe try to bring them both back, or leap onto the fucking quarterback carousel. Go get a Stafford, a Rodgers, a Darnold. Shit, maybe even try to go get Daniel Jones. Right? I don't think Russell Wilson or Fields will get franchise tagged, but the Steelers will have a plan and they'll execute it, and it's going to be interesting to see if it's Russell Wilson or if it's Justin Fields or if it's both or if it's neither. You never know. I think the Niners are an interesting one. I think they're going to open extension talks with Brock Purdy. His 23-13 record as San Francisco's quarterback, and that was with this year being just a year from hell, right? He still has a year left on his rookie contract, but he could really impact the season if he takes this extension this year. According to franchise owner Jed York, he wants Josh, I'm reading right here, Brock to be here for a long time. He'll do everything to make that work. Well, that means he's going to get paid, right? If he wants to push it and stand on his record relative to his peers who have gotten paid as well, don't be shocked, no bullshit, if his extension ends up being more than $55 million a year. And that would be horrifying. $55 million a year, between the 50 and 60 thing, that would be insane. It's so hard to build a team around a quarterback with that big of a cap hit. And on top of it, is he really that good? I understand the cap is also going up an additional $20 million to $270, I think, or $280. It was high 270s to $280 million. But 50 to $60 million, which is 25-ish%, 20 to 25-ish% of the cap for one player who is good, not great. That's a lot of fucking money. But I mean, Darnold is going to get, Darnold, there's been offers where he might get $40 million a year. And Sam Darnold getting $40 million a year after one good year is insane. And I don't know if the Niners are going to rush to sign him to an extension because, maybe this next year he does, maybe he shits the bed this upcoming year. And then it's 2 years of bad play. And that guy's not worth $55 million a year. But But they just watched the Dak Prescott debacle in Dallas, and you might not be keen to replicate that. No team really is. Also, Josh Allen is going to get an extension. Stafford might have an extension soon, so you get out in front of it. That way, you pay the least of those three. And then I want to talk just a titch about the draft. Obviously, I think one or two. I think there's going to be a quarterback that shakes up the draft pick, right? Obviously, Shedeur Sanders, Miami's Cam Ward. Those are the only two guys that got first-round grades, and they're really the only two guys that should be going in the first round. We've talked about this ad nauseum with Draft Risers, where at least I think you actually might see that video today. Yeah, I'm recording this. I'm not sure yet. I have to double check. Well, regardless, at the end of the day, like teams and things, people rise based on positional need, based on desperation, based on who knows. The top three teams, the Browns, Giants, and the Titans, not in that order. They only quarterbacks, but they could, if they're not in love with those guys, they could easily fall for like a safer prospect like a Travis Hunter or an Abdul Carter, or even a Tedero McMillan. Or you could look to trade with the Raiders, who have the 6th pick, or the Saints, who have the 9th. Let them get the pick, and you get additional assets if you're not in love with the quarterback. The problem that people have been running into is that, okay, neither of these guys are really that good and wish we would want necessarily to trade up, or if we do, we don't want that like massive haul of prospects. We're not willing to give that up. But that could change during the pre-draft process, right? We still have the combine, right? We still have all these medical stuffs. And I mean, there's a non-zero chance that a team will depart or they'll leave that combine with like, okay, we have to go get these guys. We have to go get one of them. There's also a chance Will Howard, Jackson Dart could roll up the board, right? Like similar to Bo Nix or JJ McCarthy, where they're a trade prospect or a trade candidate in that 10 to 15 range, or even in the 20s, depending on if they were able to rise that high, right? I mean, obviously last year the Falcons traded for Penix, who really wasn't a prospect getting much first round buzz in that draft. That was shocking, but it still happened. And teams probably aren't going to be very public about what their view is and what they want to do, just to not allow teams to get what they want to do. And you know how this works. You keep your smoke screen on. But a team that's drafting a guy high isn't probably going to be a player in free agency for quarterbacks, unless you're the Falcons. But yeah, that's really it. I think the quarterback market is going to be very interesting this offseason. I think it's going to dictate a lot of what the NFL looks like next year and how the NFL really shakes out over the next couple of years, especially with the Brock Purdy extensions coming and other things like that. But yeah, I just want to talk about that a little bit. Make sure to comment down below if you want to see anything else. Make sure to comment your thoughts and other videos you want to see. Make sure to like and subscribe. And YouTube thinks you're going to like this video. Find out if they're right.